Hello everyone, welcome back to SFR. This is Division 2 for round number 11 here at the Japanese Grand Prix. My name is Jamie Morris and alongside me tonight is the Division 1 driver. His name is Nordis, who scored a podium last time he arrived in Japan. How you doing, mate? You alright?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Just feeling a bit under the weather, as you can probably hear. Other than that, I'm good. Looking forward to this qualifying session and then later on the race. What about you?
Yeah, not too bad. After the Brazilian Grand Prix displayed some fantastic action, I'm looking forward to this one as well. And obviously, the Japanese Grand Prix, which has been introduced since, of course, in 1987, the only eight-figure track as well, and the most wins by Michael Schumacher. I believe he won it quite a few times consecutively as well. So, yeah, Michael Schumacher definitely went well around his track. Other than 2005, when, of course, he lost his front wing trying to go down the inside and of Justin Wilson, I believe it was on that day, but I can't exactly remember who it was. But yes, we've got some action on the track then with a lot of cars desperate to get out there. We can see the two Haas cars racing with the Aston Martin and the Mercedes there as well. Samir, of course, is the Division 2 driver. He was racing in Brazil last week, but of course he's a reserve driver as well, so he took part at the Brazilian Grand Prix and he didn't do quite bad either during the Div 1 race. Good evening, Jamie. I notice. Hope you're feeling better soon. Notice my little cupcake, says Daniel.
Thank you, Daniel. Nice to see you in the chat.
So we've got you two out there then in the RB, Yusuf Shabak, of course. And I think the Brazilian Grand Prix did not go his way at all after a good run so far in the last few races. But in Brazil, where it came to the end, and hopefully that he can have a good race. Evening, Jamie. Enjoy your final Div 2 comms race. I hope you know that was a joke, Martin. It is the 1st of April. I'm not actually retiring from commentating. You've got me for a long, long time, so don't worry. I am here. But on board with the RB of Yusuf, and the RB will be driven by Liam Lawson and Isaac Hadjar. So let's see how Liam Lawson does back in his old team, because Yuki Tsunoda will be stepping forward in the big team, ready for Red Bull. He was very frustrated, of course, not getting last season, but he's got a chance, and I really hope he does have the confidence and strength to try and do what Liam Lawson couldn't. And we all know the problem is the second driver's seat with the car not built for Max, but built around Max, hence why other people struggle as well. As I was coming through the first two Degners then, first two Degners looking sweet, except the exit of the Degner's second Degner, because I think he just had a bit of a swap on there and lost a bit of time. But nevertheless, still a good lap. And I've not seen any of his mistakes so far. Fast flowing in the first sector as well for Yusuf as he continues all the way down to Spoon then. Let's see what he does. My prediction for pole, I said to Nodus, was a 27.5, but I'm going to lower that. No. Yeah, I'm going to lower that to 27.2. So that's what I'm expecting. But here we are then on board with the racing bill of Yusuf as he makes his way down towards the end of the middle sector. It is 11.8 in the middle sector. What is the weather forecast for the race? I don't know, mate. I am the commentator. We don't have the information for the weather forecast until the drivers themselves tell us, so we have no idea what it could be. But here comes Yusuf around the final corner as he makes his way towards the line, a 28.6. So we're quite a long way away from that.
Yeah, comes Joram close to the line. It's been quite a tidy lap. There you go, fastest with the 28.3. Yeah, no major mistakes there. Kept it nice and tidy. Probably wanted to say good banker lap in which it was fastest for now.
So Yoram goes quickest, and now other Yusuf goes quickest after he sustained, I think, a little bit of a contact in Brazil as well, because he was running in the podium pay positions, but unfortunately he dropped down the order dramatically, finished in 10th place, but he did get his 3-second time penalty removed towards the end of the race as well, and I did believe he catapulted up the order towards the end of the race as well. So let's see then how both RBs get along, because they're both teammates now. And remember as well, back in Austria, when they both gave each other a nice little stream because they wanted to be teammates, but unfortunately, I think Velocio Jr. was in the way, and Velocio Jr. goes quickest with a 28.1, and this is his second race for the Aston Martin team. So let's see how things go now. For Velocio Jr., now he's in the green machine, because he wasn't really exactly getting along with his teammate, of course. And ever since Owen Mansell left to reserve and be a commentator as well, it really affected Velocio Jr. And he took the opportunity by the hands to get the Aston Martin seat. And so far, he's on pole with a 28.1, 2 tenths clear of Yusuf, Mr. Joker, in P2, with Burmeister in P3. Now, we know Burmeister hasn't really I can't even speak. Let me just get my words out. We know Burmeister hasn't really been a handy contender in qualifying. He has been struggling in qualifying recently, especially Brazil. Started down in 12th place, finished in P1. So here in Japan, he looks like he's very strong for the time being. Can he keep it up?
Yeah, it looks like I'm looking at the Ferraris right now. It looks like they're going for 2 runs with Emil going ahead of Xenon. I was maybe thinking there's some slipstream, but I think that gap is too big. But yeah, I think I'm excited to see what they can do because the tire wear around Japan can quite famously be very high. So yeah, it's interesting that they go for 2 runs, but when you've got quite a lot of time, so you have time to squeeze in 4 runs to be on the first set, and then 2 more sets. But for all I know, they could be saving a set as well.
Yeah, we're seeing multiple people out there have different strategies in terms of qualifying. Look at that. Canada speed in 7th gear. Down on the brakes. Slight lock up on the entry. Nice use of the curb on the outside for Emos. He's flying. But during that first set on his lap, he did slightly go out wide in the S section. So slightly compromised in the first set. Has lost a bit of time. But still, it is a nice lap here for the Ferrari driver, who is in desperate need. In fact, both Ferraris are in desperate need for some good points. They're currently P9 in the Constructors' Championship and also in the Drivers' Championship in Mills and Xenon with 57 points and 52 points as well. So it's not looking good for Ferrari so far. No podiums just yet this season. The highest finish was at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix when the Millers scored inside the top 10. But here we are as we make our way down towards the final 2 corners. Nordus, have you noticed something, mate? It seems to get darker and darker by the second.
Yeah, I was thinking that when we saw the battling on when everyone went out, it was a lot of people really close together. So I'm thinking maybe that was them seeing the weather forecast and thinking I just need to get out because I might not be able to set more than just this 1 lap. But yeah, interesting. Could be having rain at the end of this qualifying. Maybe towards the end of the race, to the start of the race as well.
Rain has affected here in Japan before as well in SFR last season, the season before. Here comes Samit towards the line. So Samit goes P2, and that's where we want to see the Scotsman perform at his best level as well, because in Division 1, he has struggled quite a lot being at the back of the field, getting into spins as well. Some of them not being his fault, especially back in Abu Dhabi when Mike was the one that spun him into that corner. But Samit, he was very strong in the F1 23 game. We did see him up there quite a bit as well. His best result was at the Brazilian Grand Prix fighting against Azara when he finished in P2. He's still searching for his first win. It's been quite a long time since his last win. I can't remember when it was, but it was definitely quite a long time ago, it must be said. Definitely like 4 or 5 seasons ago, but I'm not quite sure when the last win was. So let's see then if a win is on the cards for tonight for Samit. But so far it is Velocio Jr. on pole with an incredible lap time of a 28.136 from Velocio Jr. there. As we see the Red Bull now across the line, that's Lord Danny Boy goes up into P13. Now Lord Danny Boy got demoted down into Division 2 after being in Division 1 for a while. And it must be said that it looked promising in the first race when he came back because he scored a podium, did Lord Danny Boy, on his first race in Division 2 when he finished in 2nd place. Help using Burmeister as a DRS, of course, to help him get back up there. But it has been a struggle so far for Red Bull as well, because they're currently down in 10th place in the championship. So both Red Bulls, they're on the back foot, and they desperately need to deliver those results, MDJ and Lord Danny Boy.
Yeah, I was watching Nordani's boy's lap there. He got a big tank slapper coming out of the final corner, which definitely, if he can go for another run before potentially the rain hits, he can definitely gain at least 2 or 3 tenths just from that. So yeah, interesting with the Red Bulls.
Here comes Yusuf, and Yusuf puts that RB on pole position with a 28.1. Here comes the Haas as he crosses the line to go for a flying lap. It's one of the 2 Haas's because they're both together, so they're both on the main straight, go for a lap time. But so far, it is advantage Yusuf on pole ahead of his old teammates. But Velocio Jr. in the first sector is going quicker by a fraction as Yusuf goes quickest with a 27.980. It is a Yusuf 1-2. Wow. The Egyptians are first and second. What's an incredible lap time indeed for both of them. Both RBs are pole. Mr. Joker is Yusuf, and second, first place is Mr. Joker. Second is Yusuf Shabak. Not to get confused, because Yusuf and Yusuf are close friends. I don't think they're brothers, of course, but I think they're best friends. And they're first and second. But watch out for the Aston Martin, as one of the Aston Martins goes up into P4. Here comes Velocio Jr. Around the final 2 corners he goes. He's improving. But how much, though? As he crosses the line now, he goes on pole. He gets ahead of both RB drivers and puts the Aston Martin on the front row. That's exactly what they need, because both Aston Martins have been struggling. President Elite is P4 as well. So, both Aston Martins, first and fourth. Aiden goes up to 7th place. Remember, Aston Martin is Electro Dan and Owen Mansell, but they're both not here tonight. Owen Mansell has retired, of course, and Electro Dan is not here. So, their replacements are currently first and fourth.
Yeah, so Electrodan I think is also retired from full time. Probably maybe going to reserve or done with the game in general. Anyways, Burmeister, the championship leader, I was looking at his lap. He was 2/10 down in the second sector, and then first sector, and then he improved that to only 1/10 down in the second sector, and then he made a little bit of a mistake in the third sector and couldn't improve on his lap time. But I think Burmeister, if he can just hook up a lap, he obviously has great race pace, as we know. And if he can hook up a lap, I think he can have some good qualifying pace around there.
4-time winner is Burmeister this season, 9 podiums as well, so definitely got a good CV on his books, as Neymar in the Mercedes is currently on a flying lap. The man that scored a podium back at the Brazilian Grand Prix was looking for a win, but got pinched away from Burmeister after he was fighting with Europe. Those two squabbled down in towards turn one. Oh, there's a Haas who's in the wall, and he's almost out. Who was that? That's a very bizarre place to crash indeed. That was Klusler, who would just tap the grass there and put himself in the wall. That was so lucky that Neymar did not hit him. So that's a very bizarre crash indeed. Not many people go off there in that particular area. But back on board with the Mercedes driver. It is getting darker, but no signs of rain so far. Hello, JD Sunshine. Hopefully you're doing all right, mate. As we see Neymar make his way down towards the chicane, he goes, rides the curb very nicely indeed, picks up a bit of grass on the entry. But here comes the Mercedes driver as he crosses the line now. He goes up into P2. What an incredible lap time indeed there from Neymar.
Up in the second sector.
Let's ride on board with the Red Bull then as he makes his way towards the final 2 corners he goes. Riding on board with MDJ, who has struggled recently. He crossed the line now. He puts himself into P4.
Yeah, it was a given mighty second sector, or first sector there. We gained a second on this time. That'll definitely help Red Bull. We're currently last in the constructor standings, not scoring very many points. I think many races, they've only been one driver, if any. With Mikey now stepping down from Div 1 here into Div 2, I'm sure many know Mikey can be a very quick driver. And I think Red Bull will really benefit from that.
Yes, indeed, I agree with you. Let's not forget about season 15 as well, and season 14. MDJ was a highly rated driver, very good competitor indeed, was MDJ. And he also won the Japanese Grand Prix as well back in season 15. So he's definitely got a good record around here as MDJ. But can he keep it up though? And he's currently P5 in a Red Bull. And like you said, the rest of Red Bull desperately need those points as well to catapult themselves off the back row of the grid. But at the same time, though, their competitors are P4 and P7. Ferrari versus Red Bull are P4 and P7. MDJ's P5. Lord Danny Boy is P15 as well. So looks like Lord Danny Boy needs to get up there to help his teammate in the Red Bull, as MDJ now has run out of fuel. Our main competitors are going back on the track, as Daniel says, what is wrong
That's
with
rain.
Oliver? Yeah,
It's raining.
It is rain. Wow. So something has been thrown onto the track, which is rain, and it could make things even worse now for people who have a set of competitive lap times.
Yeah, unless which I don't think is going to happen, unless the track doesn't get too wet. I think that should be pole for Velocio Jr. Unless someone managed to pull something crazy out of the hat. But I think that's it, because it seems to be coming down quite heavy, and the clouds above it are quite dark.
Yeah, Burmeister and Yusuf both have a stop at oversteer at the exit of turn 2, so their lap times are already ruined then. So for those people who are near towards the back end of the field, they feel like they can improve, but unfortunately they can't. I remember Yoram as well back in the last season when he took pole around here in Japan, but crashed out the exit of Spoon. So last season's pole sitter is currently in P12, unfortunately for him, and he'll start alongside Adams in P11, who's had good form as well this season. Let's not forget about Adams, who has struggled now and then, scored a podium as well back at the Singapore Grand Prix. Well, not only podium this season, struggled with Brazil, struggled back in China and Monza as well, but he's always a guy that never gives up. He keeps on pushing them. That the track conditions are a bit too out there, and we should see nobody improving, and everybody should be back in the pit lane right now to end the session. Gaspino, fourth seat, we haven't talked about as well. Who else haven't we talked about in this session? Samir, we've talked about him. President Elite in P8. Hopefully for President Elite as well, for his sake, that he can find his form, because he has been very quick as well this season, but it's like mistakes just keep creeping in now and then. Personally, we definitely see him competing for the race wins, but something just happens to him, unfortunately, with his contact with people, penalties, etc. We saw him make his debut 3 races ago, and everybody now is making their way back in the pit lane, and MDJ is the only one out there on the circuit, same with Adams as well, so they're going to go for it, but I think it's wise to go in a brand new set of softs and waste them just in case there's a safety car later on in the Grand Prix.
Yeah, the track has in just, I think 2 minutes, so a lap and a half in race, has got absolutely soaking wet. I want to point out though that last season in Div 1, we started the race on in the wet on inters, and I remember it started drying up, and then it came a safety car. And I think it took 6-7 laps for the track to properly dry up. It was just that since safety car came out, we had to pit for the dries. So it could be an indication that we could have, if we have a wet to dry race, it could be very crucial with strategy, considering one thing is that the inters were really fast, and the other thing being it could take multiple laps for it to actually be dry enough, dries to be faster than the inters.
I do love when it rains and go back to dry, or dry goes to rain, because I do like a mixture of conditions. The changeable conditions can definitely make a huge impact during the Grand Prix. It can change the whole trajectory, the whole pecking order as well. But Velocio Jr. then is on pole here for the Japanese Grand Prix ahead of Neymar. Whilst we see MDJ do a bit of Tokyo drifting, he is going to go for a flying lap, but all he's going to do, no he's not actually, so he's going to retire from the session then. So qualifying is done and dusted then, and unfortunately we couldn't reach the climatic end like we usually see in a dry qualifying where people go for pole position. But it was raining last season as well back at the Japanese Grand Prix when you had to survive on those intermediates, because I remember Yoram picked up a puncher because it was so close to dry territory. But before I say anything more, I'll read the championship or read the classifications out. So it is Velocio Jr. on pole ahead of Neymar, Yusuf in P3, Zidane in P4, good qualifying from him, MDJ2, Yusuf in P6 ahead of MLs, President Elite P8 ahead of Samir Burmeister Knight ahead of Samir Knight, Burmeister 10th, Adams, Yoram, Caspino, Electro Dan, hello Danny Boy. But yeah, back in the Japanese Grand Prix last season, it was a chaotic indeed. That's when Noah Dietrich was the one that picked up a puncher, I think, under a safety car. But that was a very, very interesting race indeed. I think Noah Dietrich got caught up by a safety car, because I believe what happened to him? He was leading the Grand Prix. Then the puncture happened. I think other people pitted as well. I think the safety car came at the wrong time for him as well, because he was looking to try and stay out there for long as he could before the dry conditions hit as well. People pitted onto new inters, but Noah Dietrich unfortunately went on to a brand new set of inters during the Grand Prix. Yeah, that's what happened. He went on to the wrong tyre, Noah Dietrich, after changing from a puncher. Everybody went on mediums except Noah, and unfortunately Noah had to make another pit stop as well. I do miss Noah Dietrich. He was a very competitive driver indeed, was the Williams driver. But we've definitely seen a lot of wet races around here in Japan, which changes outcomes during the Grand Prix as well. But yeah, let's see then what happens here in Japan. It was a very interesting race the last time out as well in Japan, when we had quite a few safety cars, quite a few retirements as well. And I think it was Smoke versus Electro Dan versus Oliver. Yes, I definitely remember what happened last season now, when Oliver was going for his first win / podium of the season, and he was fighting with the likes of Electro Dan and Yoram. He got Electro Dan. but Yarman was a bit too far away. They went side by side on the last lap as well, but Yarman just squeezed ahead to win the Grand Prix, whilst Lord Brother Top G and Electro Dan were the battling for the final spot on the podium as well. I do miss season 16. It was a very good season indeed. It was the most enjoyable season I've had so far in SFR. Season 17 has been quite decent, but nothing will beat season 16 as well. So we'll see what happens then around here on this 27-lap race around in Japan. But I can't wait for this weekend too, notice, in Japan.
Yeah, no, can see neither can I. With a lot of in real F1, with a lot of new cool liveries. The obvious one being Red Bull and Haas for that matter. But in terms of this league race, it's looking quite dry. I don't know if it's going to change as soon as the formation lap starts, but it's looking like blue skies. So could we get a dry race after such a wet qualifying?
We could do. Last season, it was the other way around. We started on the intermediates, then we went to the medium compact tyres towards the end of the Grand Prix. So, in Japan, it is, of course, it's known for its wet races back in 2014, back in 2022 as well. I think 2022 was the last wet race around here, as the formation lap gets well and truly underway as well. What a fantastic race it was back in 2022 as well, with the wet conditions. We saw Perez and Leclerc go at it. Max Verstappen becoming a two-time world champion. And it was announced after he crossed the line, well, obviously. But what I mean is, it was announced when he was in the pen doing the podium interviews, because it was announced that Charles Leclerc got a 5-second penalty for squeezing, I think, Perez off the track on the last lap. Then Max Verstappen, of course, was known as the champion. Quite a few champions has been won around here as well at the Japanese Grand Prix. I think Sebastian Vettel and Michael Schumacher have become champions here at the Japanese Grand Prix as well. As no one can become champion no more in Japan, because it starts at the very early season. It is round 3 for the Japanese Grand Prix this weekend.
Yeah, very interesting on strategies here. No one opting for the hards. We've actually got 2 soft runners with Atlas Copa and Emils. Everyone else is running mediums. I would expect someone to try to do the hard medium. It could be just as good of a strategy as the medium hard, but it might be that the weather forecast says that it's going to rain soon, and that's why maybe Emils and Atlas Copa has opted for the softs, or it's just that they think the softs is the tire they want to be on. Who knows?
Interesting indeed there from, like you said, both Atlas Copa and Mills on the soft compound tyres. So they best be hoping that they can capitalise on those soft compound tyres, trying to make up as many places as they can. But the possibility of rain could be imminent as well, hence why we might see a lot of people on the medium compound tyres. It is a one-stop strategy around here, so I'm expecting a nice, simple mediums to hards or hards to mediums, but nobody is on the hard compound tyres, as all 17 drivers are lined up on the grid. Daniel says that he expects Zeno to win this Grand Prix. Well, we know what Zeno's like. I've said it every single race, and I hope I stop saying it one day, because I really do want to stop saying it. Because 1, I don't want to see it, and 2, it feels like I repeat myself. It's like a bingo card list where I've got to cross it out and say it. But hopefully that stops. But anyways, the light's about to go away then. It can get chaotic in towards turn 1. Romain Grosjean and Mark Webber back in 2012, and they collided in towards turn 1. Ayrton Senna and Alan Frost, but the lights are away then for the Japanese Grand Prix. We get going, and the Aston Martin covers the inside line as he stays in the lead. Now we've got the Ferrari and RB going wheel to wheel, but here comes the Red Bull around the outside. There's a bit of carbon fibre from somebody who's lost an outplate as we head down towards the S section. The Red Bull launches ahead as that's MDJ. Now Zenum is under pressure from the Racing Bull driver right behind. He's all over the place. He can't get into a rhythm. Around the outside goes the Alpine, but the RB just squeezes him off there. Zenum stays in P6, and Emils, his Ferrari teammate, unfortunately has dropped backwards. Now here comes the Aston Martin, who has to clip the curb and go off the track as he spins the car. That's President Elite. He's getting too optimistic there as he stays, and now he's demoted down to P16 there, so go for a move. And as a result, he's off the track, and he's going to go back down the inside in towards the hairpin we go. We've seen plenty of moves here before as well, including Kamoru Kobayashi back in 2012, when he made some famous lunges up the inside. And also Sergio Perez failed dive bomb attempt on Kevin Magnussen, as Jerome now It's up into P8. Where's our championship leader? Burmeister is in P10, but so far, a relatively clean start other than the one hiccup, which was President Elite in the first Degner.
I can confirm that the carbon fiber that you saw was Emil's. I watched it. That's why he's also dropping back even on the softs. He got, I think, hit the back of the Alpine. I'm not sure, but yeah, as he goes into the pits to get that wing changed, it looked quite bad for him. Other than that, Veloce Jr. is absolutely bolted off the line. He was 1.3 at one point. I'm guessing now the drivers behind, as Yusuf gets past Neymar, are going to try and catch him back up and get back into that DRS.
Yeah, it's very important now that Yusuf now try and get back in DRS range, get that gap under a second, because it looks like Neymar struggled in the early phases, therefore allow Veloce Jr. to pull away. But can now Yusuf use his clean air to his advantage, catch after Veloce Jr. But that's fine, he goes off the track in the second Degner, so he's definitely pushing, trying to get that gap under a second. When you break out somebody's DRS, it's quite hard to get yourself back in. Also, you've got to sacrifice a lot of your battery as well, so maybe choose that battery, try and get himself back in the DRS range. The gap has gone up to 1.6 then, so that moment has cost him dearly, and now the gap is 1.6, plus he's under pressure too from Neymar and MDJ. MDJ looking very racy so far in the Red Bull. There he is then, in the Red Bull, right behind Neymar as well. So could MDJ fancy a podium? His first podium since God knows how long. I think it's season 15 at the Hungarian Grand Prix when him and Laser finished first and second. But here we are then, as we head down towards 130R, headed down towards the bus stop chicane where we saw Michael Schumacher lose his front wing as well. So plenty of great moves down the inside. Alex Albon on Lando Norris back in 2019 to give you many examples as well. But here we are on the main straight then with the DRS wide open. Is Yusuf going to be under massive pressure? Here comes one Mercedes. Here comes a Red Bull. They make contact as MDJ down the inside. Oh, there's a bit of a lag spike there. I thought for 1 second they crashed into him. But MDJ just luckily escaped that, and I thought that him and Neymar just made contact, but they didn't. The gap's gone down to 1.1 thanks to the power of the DRS. They're getting themselves back in DRS range of Veloce Jr. in P1.
Yeah, I think the MDJ one, he definitely touched that inside curve, which can send you flying. But I also think that the lag spike made it look a lot more exaggerated than it was. And there's yellow flags. I'm guessing that's President Elite. He's dropped out of the pack now.
It's Oliver, but here comes Joram down the inside of Samik going down towards the hairpin, but there's not enough room there, so therefore has to stay behind for the time being. Then so Burmeister then, that up into P9. Watch out for him in the late stages. He started down in 10th place, up 1 place by P9, but we know what he's like when it comes to longevity. His endurance is sufficient. It is amazing the way he can make up the places, the way he's very calm and collective, making overtakes as well. So watch out for him in the later stages when he comes charging to the field. But right now, the battle's for P2. Nobody is able to get near Veloce Jr. He has checked out, but not by much though. It is only 1.1 seconds. But MDJ then fancies a move on the back of Neymar. He's looking really racy tonight. Is the Flying Dutchman. And here he is with the DRS wide open as he pulls to the left-hand side. And here comes Yusuf now. Will he go on the left-hand side? He will. Around the outside into towards turn 1. Can he make his stick? No, he can't. He stays behind for the time being. Neymar just defends. And Daniel says, has Oliver been drinking? It's like me in Austria. I'm not quite sure, unfortunately, but I think Oliver's really struggling here tonight. It's a massive contrast. This time last season, he was fighting for P2 / the win as well. But now he's currently down to P16.
Yeah. I'm looking at the battery situation, and I don't see anyone that is in particularly good with has a good battery situation right now. Everyone, Yusuf Shibiak is the one I see is the best on the battery. Everyone else is quite low and they're using. I'm guessing also trying to push, especially top 5, trying to push back up to Veloce Jr. But yeah, definitely on any track, if you can manage battery, it will make you so much faster, and it may make you also make racing for you so much easier. But it's easier said than done. You need to use it for attacking and defending, and sometimes it's not as easy as it may seem to say.
Yeah, exactly as well. Battery and attack and defense mode, you definitely need it around here in Japan. But MDJ and Neymar, what these two should do, if they want a chance to win this Grand Prix, they need to work together now because in the early stages, Velocevic Jr. seems to be unmatched at the front of the field. So I think MDJ and Neymar should consider swapping places with the DRS wide open, stop fighting in the early stages and work together to bring themselves back in contention of getting the DRS. That's what happened to Lord Danny Boy. And thank you so much, Daniel. I appreciate your comments there. I know I spooked everybody today when I said I was announcing that I was retiring from all the leagues I was commentating. Then obviously it's April Fools, so I'm staying for SFR and other leagues, of course. So you've got me for a long time, unless my voice goes or something happens. But MDJ, that's how the lag spike, or he's really struggling in the first sector because he has massive twitches now, and Neymar is all at the back of him. So MDJ seems to be struggling in that first sector, struggling to keep the car pointing in the right direction as they squabble with the curb on the outside there as we head down towards the hairpin. This track is very difficult, of course, but Neymar is creeping on the back of MDJ. It's very important, like I said, not to fight, but how much time is MDJ losing towards Velocevic Jr.? So we'll see then if Neymar is forced to overtake him, try and catch after him. But so far, give credit to the man in P1. It's not often you see somebody breaking away from the DRS, especially in the early stages. It has worked out beautifully for the man in P1, Velocevic Jr. in first place. And look at this, there comes Yusuf now, side by side with the Mercedes driver, as Yusuf puts himself into P3 there, so he's on the charge as well. Watch out for both racing bulls, they are very quick, are the Egyptian drivers. As we head down towards the final two corners we go, is Yusuf now looking for a move. Yusuf in the background goes deep in the Casio Triangle chicane. He's under pressure from Samid there, big mistake with big consequences. He might get overtaken by Samid, he will. Here comes Yusuf now on the back of MDJ. MDJ is derating as Yusuf simply walks past him. As we see in the background, Samid can't overtake Yusuf as he stays behind the P6. You know what? It is so confusing saying Yusuf because you don't know which one I'm talking about.
True indeed. Yeah, no, coming out of Spoon there, both Neymar and MDJ both went wide. I think MDJ picked up a track limit because of that, and but Neymar got a big snap of oversteer, which let Yusuf Farouk to just slip through, and then later get MDJ on the main straight with the RS open.
Bit of a moment out there in the second negno for Samid as he continues to put pressure on Yusuf, who's actually dropping backwards. In fact, he's broken the DRS towards himself and Neymar, so it looks like Yusuf Shabak is struggling in the first stint, but he's gained a heap of time as well. Oliver, once again, having issues out there in Japan. Not his afternoon so far, or evening, shall I say, in that Williams there, so he's struggling. Burmeister, his championship teammate, is P9. Burmeister is actually struggling too. He's dropped away by a second, so uncharacteristic like from Burmeister in P9. We know he's got a trick up his sleeve, but could he be on the back foot here tonight? We're about to find out. Look at Yoram, right behind Zenem as well, as he puts pressure on the Ferrari right behind him as well. Here he is, up the inside. He's going to make the move. He is. He does cut the corner as the wheel-to-wheel gives him enough space, and he puts himself into P7. What a move. But was that worth it, though? Because outside the DRS range, as here comes MDJ, and here comes Mercedes now. As we head down towards turn 1, the Mercedes on launch up the inside. Yusuf gets a 3-second time penalty there. Was he shut off the track, I wonder?
Yeah, I was watching Burmeister and Xenon there. Everyone seems to be really struggling on that battery, and I think Burmeister, he's saving right now, and it looks like he's got a healthy battery, but to me it seems like he's losing on the straights mainly. I don't know if that's because of battery or it's because of his setup, but now he's back in the DRS range though. Needs to hope and pray that Yoram gets back in the DRS range of the 6 ahead, as I think Samad made a mistake there in the hairpin.
Possibly, but I'm not looking at him so far. I think it was Oliver who spawned in the first sector. As notice, if you want to press square, mate, you have all the options available to you. I'm not quite sure if you've been on spectator, but if you put your full track mark on, it will show you where the yellow flag is.
It was just Samad that came out of the hairpin, because Yarn was a second behind, and then he went on Yarn's POV, and then Samad was ghosted. So I think he made a mistake, which allowed Yarn back in his DRS range.
A lot of people here struggling here tonight in Japan. Not surprised, of course. It is a difficult, demanding circuit, high-speed corners, and the curves can be lethal. But now, Velocio Jr. finds himself under pressure, so the DRS train is back together. And Velocio Jr. for the first time in this race feels the pressure from behind. MDJ, the Dutchman, is right behind him. MDJ has experience of winning here in Japan. So let's see, can the glory come again for the man who is racing the Red Bull in Division 2? Although in the first sector, I do see him struggling just a bit there, but we'll see if he manages to get it sorted out, because I think maybe he's applying the throttle too early, maybe tossing the curves on the inside. The curves can be very lethal. It can throw your car off balance. Oh, that's thankful that's a lag spike there.
Yeah, MDJ and probably having connection issues to the host. I've not known MDJ for having bad Wi-Fi, so I don't know what's going on. But his car is all over the place. Not necessarily him doing anything, but that can be a real hassle, especially if the car's behind, trying to figure out where he is and if they want to go for a move. Because Neymar right now is all over the back of MDJ, and he needs to be careful because he not necessarily can see where MDJ is, which could be dangerous.
Exactly as well. He could hit him, he can teleport it to him, make him break his own front wing, so he can be very careful with that lag spike. And MDJ, he's usually got good internet. I've seen him having good internet before, so I'm not quite sure what's going on with the Dutchman there, but what I do know that he's fighting with the Aston Martin driver. As you don't know if MDJ's making mistakes or not. Caspino, who haven't really spoke about much in this Grand Prix, is up at P10 after a disappointing qualifying, gets ahead of Adams as Yusuf gets ahead of Yusuf as he puts himself into P4. The one that doesn't have a 3-second penalty was that Team was there from both RB drivers who allowed the one who doesn't have a penalty to catch after the top three, as Burmeister does get ahead of Xenon then. So Xenon, who was up into P4 at one point, started 4th place, has dropped off dramatically. He is down into P9. It's been a dreadful race so far from Xenon, who started in P4. Daniel predicted that he was going to win the Grand Prix, but it seems very unlikely. He's got the qualifying pace, but not the race pace. This has been a common theme in this series so far for Xenon. He's got some really good qualifying pace, but when it comes to the race, he just dropped backwards. Maybe he's running a time trial setup. I think Harry Kane gave me some inside information about Xenon. Of course, Xenon was the one that brought Harry Kane into SFR in the first place, so he knows a lot about him. But I think the setup is tweaked more balanced to the qualifier setup rather than the race setup itself. So I think Xenon there just needs to work on his racecraft just a bit to try and get himself up the order. But at least he keeps trying, though, after every single problem he's had during the Grand Prix. People like me would have gave up a long time ago. He's got the strength, he's got the willpower to keep going and keep trying. That's all you need to do, really. The more you keep trying, the more you learn, of course. But, of course, you make a lot of mistakes, so it's very easy to give up. But we make our way now towards the finals and corners. This is going to be very interesting because Velocio Jr. is vulnerable on the straight. MDJ might fancy an overtake on the Aston Martin driver. And he will. Then here comes MDJ with the DRS wide open as he now takes the lead of the Grand Prix for the first time since the Hungarian Grand Prix last season. Then he is back in the lead and he looks like a real contender as well. Samid is next to Yusuf briefly, but they end their fight before turn 3.
This top 8 looks still to be in DRS. People keep getting out of the DRS range and then getting back in. Yarm especially, he was just within the DRS detection coming into the final chicane, and then coming into turn 1 he was 1.3 seconds behind. I think he could be struggling. I think he's struggling both with battery and with maybe high wings, so he's losing a lot on the straight line speed. And as that is Samad on the inside of Yusuf Farouk and the safety car. Has
Oliver just caused a safety car? Do you know what? Let me explain this. I don't think Oliver has caused a safety car. It's a glitch again as Yusuf gets past Samid there. So this glitch is about when somebody who comes into the pits and retires, it calls safety car, as in Mills gets a drive-through penalty for speed on a safety car. I'm not quite sure why you would do that, considering you're 16th place and nobody's really in front of you. But yeah, it's just, I don't know what's wrong with this game. It's got so many bugs and glitches. It happened in a race in Monza when somebody came to the pit lane and retired. So I'm not quite sure why it does that. Unless Oliver actually retired in the pit lane entry, then that's probably the reason why I called safety car. But I don't know if he has or not. So I'm just checking every single drive to see if anybody's spun and hit the wall, because that could be a possibility as well, when somebody lost their front wing. So let me just check every single driver's front wing. Looks like everybody's got a front wing intact so far. By the way, everybody should be pitted to a brand new set of the hardcore power tyres as Adams gets himself a 3-second time penalty. I'm checking people's front wing to see if anybody's lost it, but nobody has lost it so far just yet. So that must have been Oliver who caused safety car, but I want to believe that he retired in the pit lane and not caused safety car, if that makes sense.
I was expecting Yusuf Farouk there. He was leaving a big gap to the cars ahead and holding up Yaron big time. I'm guessing so that he could double stack, which yeah, it could cause some problems in the stewards, depending. Yeah. But seems like, yeah, everyone has gone to the hards, not Atlas Scopo. He's staying out on those mediums. Guessing he started on softs, so why is he not pitted for the hards? He's only going to lose one position because he's going to need to pit again while the hard runners in front of him can just stay out. Other than that, seen on pit at the lap before, so he was majorly not benefit of that safety car and has lost a couple of positions because of that. I can have a look at the penalty situation at the moment, or track limits, as I've seen a few here and there. And DJ's only on 1 warning. Same with Luchav Jr. And same with Yusuf Shibek. It seems like everyone out there is keeping it nice and tidy. More or less the only really track limit, the one that you should be watch out for is Spoon. Japan isn't really that track where you necessarily pick up 3-second time penalties, but it's still possible, especially if you go wide in Spoon. But top 5 look to be pretty sore right now. Either have 3 warnings to go, 2 warnings to go, and 1 warning to go on before a penalty.
Yeah, sorry for those guys right now. We've got about 17 laps left to go during this Grand Prix, so plenty of action still that could happen here. People have switched over to the hardcore power tyres, so nobody. I was about to mention the undercut because we're headed towards that territory where people are thinking about undercuts, especially the guys further back in the DRS train, because when you're the guys stuck behind in the DRS train, you can't move anywhere. You're basically just stationary and just watching the guys ahead of you, just following them along and not able to do anything about it. But so then you start exploring your options. Then you think about a pit stop, go on the hardcore power tyres, go on the hardcore power tyres and get that undercut and try and leapfrog everybody ahead of you. But nobody can do that because the safety cars came out, so that neutralises that. But so far, the only thing that's ruined it for some people is the 2 RB drivers, because Yusuf Shabak and Yusuf Farouk unfortunately had to double stack, so therefore one of them had to yield and give away places, and fortunately the other RB driver of Yusuf Farouk was the one that gave away a few places. He's down to P8, Burmeister's in P7, Caspino running a decent race in P9. It has been a difficult season for him with a few retirements now and then as well for the Kick Sauber driver. Currently running inside the top 10 is the Sauber, but Samid as well. He's up there in P4, running a fairly solid race. I remember back in Division 1 this season when he has been towards the back end of the field as well, just really struggling, finishing towards the lower end, like last place as well last season. So he has really been on the back foot, but so far looking really strong. And can he keep it that way? He could be on course for a podium, but it might be a bit difficult with the likes of Yusuf Shabak, Velocio Jr. and MDJ. It's just bringing about memories seeing Samid and MDJ being up there once again. Bringing back season 14 memories, season 15 as well. Those guys back towards the top of the field. He's only scored 1 podium back in season 15. That was back in the Brazilian Grand Prix. Was Summit, which was a sprint race as well. I remember that day. So can he get his 2nd podium? His 1st podium since 2 seasons ago, and the safety car is about to come in at the end of this lap then. So racing will resume, and we'll see what happens on the hardcore power tyres. These guys can take these hard towards the end, and we'll see what happens during the 2nd stint then. MDJ now has become the effective safety car leader, as 2 of them have swapped places there, but they get themselves back in their original places as MDJ now makes his way towards the final corner. He can pull the trigger, and where to go. Whoa. And he goes right now, and Sammy's dropped down the order. He has spun the car around, and what on earth has happened to him as Burmeister is squirming away? Did they?
They touched. Yeah, Neymar hit the rear tire of Samad coming out of the final corner.
It goes from bad to worse there, but Vlashev Jr. was defended from Yusuf. Yusuf gets a decent exit. Of course, these two were former teammates. Last time we saw these two come together was at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix at Turn 5. They went side by side, and it cost them dearly. Now they're back together. What's Vlashev Jr. doing? He's derating. He's not using any battery. He's losing time. MDJ is able to pull away. So they've lost the DRS towards MDJ because Vlashev Jr. seems to forget to turn his DRS on. He's still blinking on the street.
He's got plenty of battery, but he keeps it in none. He must have forgotten not to put. Yeah, as you said, must have forgotten not to put it back up to medium or hot lap. This is going to cost them all very dearly.
It's cost them big time because they lost the DRS towards MDJ. Vlashev Jr. at the start of the Grand Prix was the one that broke the DRS. Then the guys managed to get back at him because those guys were traded DRS and slingshots them each other past, so therefore they can bring that gap to under a second. But the gap's almost 2 seconds now, as Vlashev Jr. in P2 has lost that chance to try and get the lead of the Grand Prix by using MDJ for DRS. Now he's got his old teammate behind him. Here he is. Is this a move? Oh, it's so close, but I've noticed something too. Vlashev Jr. Here comes Mercedes down the inside into more chicane, but he can't quite make it stick. Oh, they make contact in the grass together. Oh, big shame there. Just tagging wheels, and Yusuf is in the glass, and they've relinquished those places. Burmeister's now P4. Unbelievable, Burmeister. Up into P4, now P3, as he's alongside Yoram, but not able to get close enough as President Elite now goes up into P8, but not yet. It's because the Mercedes is a bit later. But I did notice something from Vlashev Jr., which explains a lot. So he's got some front wing damage, it seems, on his left end plate.
Oh, so maybe he's purposely putting it in none. So, for one, is protecting himself on the straights, and for the other is to sort of slow him down in the corners, easier on traction. Not kind of less understeer because you're coming into the corners with less speed. So yeah, there's definitely it's interesting. But yeah, it could work out. I don't know. It's definitely very handy for MDJ though. Now almost 1.8 seconds ahead.
He could definitely start to build that gap, build it over 2 seconds, but he hasn't built a much bigger gap than that since the last lap. The gap is still hovering around 1.7 seconds. So despite Vlashev Jr. being put at a disadvantage, not able to break away from him just yet. The gap is 1.8 or 1.7, but he definitely finds more speed in the first and middle sector, especially the S section and sprint as well. While Vlashev Jr. is struggling in the corners, he's definitely gaining time on the straights. But look who's behind us. It is Yoram versus Burmeister for the battle for P3 and P2. So Burmeister's been brought back in contention. I have no idea how Burmeister gets himself back in contention despite being in no man's line in the first race. It's just unbelievable indeed. As somebody else who dropped down the order is the other RB who has dropped himself down the order. He has been relegated down into last place, and Yoram is up into P2 ahead of the Aston Martin struggler. Aston Martin, sorry, I don't know why I said that. Didn't even know what I said.
Aston Martin struggler, I'm guessing.
Yeah, probably
because he's struggling. Yeah, no, I think Burmeister will also try and get past the Vlashev Jr., especially with that front wing damage. But it looks like Vlashev Jr. has now found his medium button, so he won't be losing that much time. At the same time, yeah, with Burmeister, I find it so fascinating how 2 races in a row now he just sees the cars ahead go off, and it just paves the way for him to just prance through. And potentially may even have a great position to end up on the podium, if not even a race win, if he can just keep it nice and tidy, because it seems like a lot of these front runners are getting themselves in incidents, which Japan is a very track prone for incidents with the curbs and the grass everywhere.
Indeed it is. Yoram almost finds himself a DRS range MDJ, so Yoram's got some decent pace as well. The man that cut top all here last season. He started out at P11, so he had a very difficult qualifying, but like Burmeister, he's capitalised off other people's mistakes, and therefore he's in the spot to try and win the Grand Prix if he can bring that gap under a second. But he's definitely lacking the battery. He's just set the fast lap of the Grand Prix there, so he's definitely got some pace on his hands tonight, but he's definitely struggling with the battery now. He's down towards 3%, so you might want to consider saving a better battery, as President Elite, who's also looking very good so far, is up into P6 then ahead of Neymar, and Yusuf Shebek is right behind as well. Neymar and Shebek unfortunately making contact in towards the Castillo Triangle chicane, and they've lost themselves a chance of winning all been in the podium, but it's not over just yet in this Grand Prix. There's still about 11 laps left to go, so anything could happen, but they need something in front of them to happen if they want any chance of potentially trying to grab that podium away. It's just a shame because, like I said, they've just thrown some crucial points away, and Yusuf and Neymar, who have been very strong in the last couple of races, but mistakes are made, and they just lose a whole bunch of points by those small mistakes they keep on making then. So it's just these days where the points are on offer, but you keep throwing them away due to cost of mistakes like that. Do you know what? Caspino.
Oh, Yarn went off. Ooh. That's not what he was looking for. Now he's trying to slowly creep away on that gap to MDJ, but that cost him 2/10, which makes him out of the RS for another lap, which is a bit, not what he wanted. But yeah, what were you saying?
Caspino in P5 doing a mega job as well, also keeping out of nowhere, but he has got a President Elite right behind him and Neymar too, so he might find himself under pressure from those two right behind as Adams does get past Lord Danny Boy. They want to really cut out tyres, Adams. They were scrapping away for quite a long time as well during the last few laps, but here comes Velocio Jr. Would he go for a move? Not yet, but Burmeister as well. They're in P4, looking to take advantage as Jarum then almost lost it out of turn 1 and 2, so there's a bit of a movement out of the two corners as off the track goes Yusuf Shabak. This has been a dreadful race for the Egyptian driver in P9. Both RB drivers suffering. One's in the pit lane, the other one is out there in P8, just dropping backwards every time then. So after being up there, after being the stars of qualifying, it seems that their luck has ended here in the race, and it has massive consequences as well for their championship after being teammates together for the first time. Neymar now gets a better exit than Caspino. Caspino on the defensive, on towards the hairpin we go, as they're wheel to wheel in towards the hairpin, but Caspino has the inside line. Will Neymar get a better exit? Yes, he does. Around the outside he goes. What's a lovely move. He puts himself into P6, now catching the back of President Elite, who's up into P5, running a decent race himself in 5th place there. But back towards 2nd, we can see Burmeister, Ayob Jr., and Yoram scrapping away for P2. MDJ has pulled away from this pack exactly what he needs, with these guys scrapping away for P2 as we see these guys get so close. Well, Velocio Jr. decides to go for a move as we head down towards the Casio Triangle chicane. Ayob Jr. just backs out of it, knowing the DRS line is right there. Oh, Burmeister almost dropped it out of the final corner as he chucks the curve on the inside, but escapes from it. That could bring President Elite into play as well, as the DRS train could be reconnected, and we could see a massive fight down towards P2 as well, which could be very interesting indeed. MDJ so far, looks like nobody's bothering him, up into 1st place, and running his own race so far in 1st.
Yeah, I want to give a big shout out to President Elite, who was last on lap 1. And is putting on a true 2020 secure Grand Prix Sergio Perez performance here. He's also eaten away at the gap to the top 4. It was 2.0 a couple laps ago, and is now down to 1.3. Especially with Yaram ahead there, derating on the main straight. He's very low on battery, which is then causing a bit of havoc for the cars behind him. But yeah, very, very well done to President Lee from being last on lap 1 to now already being in P5, looking good.
Do you remember what happened to President Lee on lap 1? Because I don't know why he was last. Do you?
So Emil's got that front wing damage and was holding up a big pack of cars ahead of him, and then going into Degna 1, I think.
Yeah, you're right.
He caused. I think he maybe went a bit slow or something, and there was 2 cars side by side, and he got pushed into the gravel, and then went sliding off and at the back of the pack.
Look at this then as we head down towards the chicane once again between Burmeister, who get very close indeed, touching between the two, but Junior just stays in front for the time being then, as Velocio Jr. is desperate to stay on the podium. With that full-wing damage, the damage of Aston Martin is doing everything he can to defend from the championship leader as MDJ continues to build a gap over 2 seconds. As Neymar gets past President Elite, he puts himself into P5. But yes, I do remember now when President Elite took a very acute angle going towards turn 1, then got pinched to the curb and unfortunately went off the track in Degna 2 as well. So that explains why he was down there in last place, up into P6, doing a mega job so far. What could it have been for him as well if that mistake never happened? But he's still got about 8 laps left to go in his race to try and get back at these guys as well. These guys are scrapping so hard, and the DRS then has been brought back into play because Neymar has caught up towards Burmeister. This could get very fast indeed, the battle for P2. I think Velocio Jr. is using Yarn for DRS just so he can stay in P2 and P3, protect himself against Burmeister. He's playing this tactically. He's not going for moves on Yarn just yet. He's just sitting behind, waiting for the latter stage of the Grand Prix. Then he'll pounce on him towards the end of the Grand Prix as well. So that's what probably Velocio Jr. is doing, playing this tactically by keeping Burmeister behind with the helping hand of the DRS. So we're heading towards 130R. Of course, a flat-out corner in these modern day Formula 1 cars. As I try to get my words out, Zenum gets ahead of Caspino, going into 130 there. As we head towards the final two corners we go, Yarman finds himself under pressure as Burmeister seems to be closer this time, but of course the Aston Martin in front of us has DRS. He's derated. Burmeister's going to go for the move. He almost lost the car as well, going down towards turn 1. We saw the back end wanted to go as he changed direction. Adams gets back ahead of Zenum for P8 there, but it's very intense now between second, third and fourth.
It is indeed. Neymar has now dropped back a bit more. He was just behind on the detection point, so the guys ahead managed to pull away a bit more due to the DRS. Burmeister, I can sense he's could be getting frustrated. That defensive move from Velocio Jr. was a bit late, and then so Burmeister kind of, as I think that's Yusuf, should be going off the track, and that's President Elite back into P6. I think maybe he went for a move. And we have a yellow flag. That is.
I'm not sure what happened to this. I'm really not sure what happened.
I think it's closer.
I thought it was Danny Boy.
No, Danny Boy is still in the DRS, still close, while Closer is now dropped 4 seconds back.
What a shame for Closer.
I'm not sure. But I keep seeing on Neymar in Spoon, he is understeering crazy going onto the back straight, which I think is losing him both. Just time, but it's also scrubbing up speed that you could get on the main straight, which makes him always lose out on the DRS, topped off with the fact that he's low on battery.
Caspino, who was running a good race, he picked up from wind damage somewhere in the first Degner. I saw him take a trip on the grass in the second Degner rejoin, and he has pitted there. Running in 5th place, a solid, decent race so far, but something must have happened. I noticed that Velocio Jr. is definitely struggling there with that full wind damage, not doing any favours. The car must feel so heavy to turn in towards the corner as well. It's just painful, the long corners as well, because there's so much understeer. It barely feels like you're turning. He's definitely struggling to keep himself in the DRS range of Yarn, that's for sure. He keeps trying. He keeps pushing very hard as well to get closer towards the Haas. MDJ is in control so far in this Grand Prix. He's lacking battery, but has the gap over 2.2, and he's looking very comfortable so far. Just praying for his sake that no safety car comes out to bring them back together again. And he needs to make sure as well that he keeps it nice and clean and doesn't pick up a 3-second penalty, and doesn't make any mistakes at all. Running in a really solid place. Looks like the MDJ we used to know all those seasons ago as well, when he was fighting for the championship in Division 1 against Laser and Hurricane. But here we are, it is lap 22 out of 27. There is 5 laps left to go in this race, and so far we are looking for the battle for P2 between these three: Yarlum, Velocio Jr. and Burmeister. Burmeister started down P11. In my head, I thought that Burmeister would somehow end up winning this Grand Prix. He could still do, but in my head, I just thought Burmeister could be the one.
Yusuf just got past Neymar, so he could be back into play if he can eat away on that 1.5 gap, which he is, because it was 1.6 going into turn 1. So could this mean that we could have Yusuf Shibak, after that incident, back into play, and potentially some squabbles between him and Burmeister for P4, and eventually maybe even further positions?
The problem is for Yusuf, though, that there's third and fourth, he keeps catching them in the corners. The gap keeps going down, but on the straights he keeps losing loads of time. The gap keeps extending towards 2 seconds sometimes, so that's his biggest problem around the circuit. That's why you don't want to break the DRS at all in any circuit, unless you're Monaco. Monaco don't really count. But you don't want to put the DRS at all around any track because it's just so difficult. You have no way back, especially when you're on a level playing field, because there's no huge advantage for any of these drivers because roughly they're on the same tyre age as well. So you don't have an advantage of tyres either to try and get yourself back in. So you just pray and hope that something happens. You either hope that the guys take each other out, or they continue fighting side by side. And if that happens, it'll definitely slow them down. And once again, Burmeister can't seem to get past the Aston Martin driver either, as Neymar puts himself into P5. So he's definitely losing a lot of time, is Yusuf and Neymar. He's only got a bit of time left as well to try and catch second, third, and fourth.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one with Japan because the time trial setups, not necessarily like using time trial setups, but often, a lot of the time, you make your setups based off a time trial setup, unless you have different bases to go off at. And the wings around Japan are quite high, and in the race, that can potentially punish you, especially if you're outside of the DRS, because you're just losing so much time on the straights. You can have people that are keeping up with you in the corners, but have 30 wings instead of 45 or whatever it is that the time trial setups are, and they will gain on you big time on the straights, or just pull away from you and keep you out of the DRS range.
Settles can make a big impact as well. Depends what set we've gone for here. Usually I like high downforce settles because I'm not one of those people that can keep it nice and controlled in the corners either. So high downforce setup suits me. But having a low downforce setup can be beneficial as well, especially in the DRS train, having more straight line speed. But I've noticed Yoram has gained a huge chunk of time on MDJ. The gap was 2.2, now it's 1.5. So it could be that MDJ could find himself under pressure. He was comfortable, but Yoram is starting to catch up then. So could this be a fight for the lead of the Grand Prix? Yoram has got no battery left in his disposal to use as Yusuf overtakes Neymar as he puts himself back into P5. These guys are struggling to catch the guys in front of them. You can see them right in front of your screen, but unfortunately they're just a bit too far away to try and get them after all the mistakes Yusuf has this race and this season. He would dearly love a podium on the cards tonight. You can see him definitely struggling in the first sector. He's taking very obscure lines, different gear shifts as well than expected. But the gap is 1.2. There's a Red Bull who has gone for a spin. And it's Lord Daddy Boy who goes onto the grass now to end off a difficult race around here at the Japanese Grand Prix. Been a struggle for those guys as well. And he spins once again, so not having a good time as he can't seem to find traction. As Caspino gets a 3-second time. So Caspino currently holds the fast lap of the Grand Prix as well. As we right back on board with Yoram, who seems to have some decent pace in the Haas and catching MDJ. The gap is about 1.2 seconds. Can Yoram get that gap under a second? Has MDJ just done enough to keep that gap over a second? We're about to find out. But it's very critical now in these stages not to make any sort of mistake. Otherwise, that's his race chance of winning the race definitely gone.
Yeah, I think looks like I think Yoram is burning a lot more battery than MDJ may do, because on every straight, on every main straight, he's derating because he's spent it all. While I think MDJ is also quite low on battery, but I think he's trying to manage it a bit more, which is why Yara might be closer or gaining, is because he's burning battery to try and, understandably so, trying to get back into that DRS and potentially fight for the win.
The thing is, though, if he can't get himself in the DRS range and he's low on battery, he's exposed towards Velocio Jr. and Burmeister. So, sure. If Yoram wants a chance, or if he wants a fighting chance of staying in P2, he needs to have some battery left in this Grand Prix, because as you can see in the steering wheel of Burmeister, he has got 100% ready to use at any given point, whereas Yoram is quite low on the battery. The gap, it is 30%. But look at that, the gap is almost in DRS range. Yoram is in DRS range almost, but the gap now increases slightly, decreases. It's fluctuation all over the place. He's just in. So where's MDJ? Has got himself a 3-second time penalty. The man that looking comfortable, the man that looked like he was going to go for the win and the podium, might not even get a podium here in Japan. After all, his incredible work sees him off the podium towards the end of the Grand Prix. Just unbelievable. I can't believe he's done that after a fantastic race, started down in the lower end as Neymar overtakes Yusuf once again as we go on board then with the top 3 in this Grand Prix. Lap 26 is the penultimate lap of this Grand Prix. The battle for P2 is spicing up. Yoram has the DRS, but Velocio Jr. is using battery. Oh, a massive stab! And here comes Velocio Jr. The side-by-side in towards turn 2. But Yoram just has a car in front of him. And now look at Burmeister looking to get involved on the action as well. Can Yoram be the one to win this Grand Prix? As I try and get my bearings up. Here we go then.
Yeah, this is really spicing up now. It looks like MDJ, I think he is saved from Neymar and Yusuf. So maximum for MDJ, unless something happens, is P4 for now. Although Yoram and Velocio Jr. has got a big stretch between them now, almost 1 second. So if MDJ can try and pull away, he might salvage a podium. But it's looking like P4 at the moment.
It's so heartbreaking for MDJ. A good character, a well-known character as well. Has multiple race wins and podium under his belts. And after seeing me struggle in the last few races, being in no man's land, just dropping away every single race, not having any sort of race pace and losing a bit of races to race, finally he sees himself in first place. After leading majority of this Grand Prix, now has a 3-second time penalty, and there's no hope for him to get a race win or a podium then. So P4 will be his best for the time being, as MDJ will lead the last lap. Azedam's gone for a spin. No, he hasn't. It's not him this time. It's Yusuf. He's gone for a spin. I'm sorry about that. But Burmeister, where is he? Right behind Junior. They're going side by side in towards turn 1. Here we go then. Burmeister swoops on the outside. What an audacious, fantastic move around the outside. Indeed, he's up into P3. Next target is Yoram, but he's 1 place away from winning the Grand Prix. Burmeister has been on a streak of wins so far this season, looking for his 5th win in the season, but Yoram is right in front of him. Yoram hasn't won a race since the first race of the season then, so he's going to go for that, and let's see if he can do it. He's got MDJ right in front of him. Yoram needs to play it smart. He doesn't need to overtake MDJ. There's no point overtaking him, because if you do that, you jeopardise yourself or being in risk of Burmeister as well. So just finish behind him, because it's very crucial points in the championship. We all want to win on the track, of course, but at the same time, when it comes down to the championships, when it comes down to the long-term game, sometimes finishing in P2 on the track is best rather than risking it. So here he is then. He's going to use the battery, of course, because Burmeister's right there in P3, but he's under pressure from Velocio Jr. You can see that Burmeister is weaving, but I don't think Junior has got anything left to respond with. Here we are, 130R, as we make our way down towards the finals of corners, as we now see Yoram right behind MDJ in the breaker zone, but he's too far back. But it doesn't matter anyway, because Yoram will come across the line as he wins the Japanese Grand Prix, his first win since the Austrian Grand Prix. From 12th as well, so they had a bad qualifying, and he finishes in first place. Burmeister, his streak has ended, but he won't care, because these are crucial points indeed. He's got his 6th podium in a row. Can you believe it? As Velocio Jr. finishes in P3, MDJ P4, Neymar P5, and Zenum started 4th, but cut up to 6th despite his problems during the Grand Prix. President Elite, who was last at the second Degner in lap 1, finishes in P7 because MDJ's retired. But what a race that was. And Noldus, thank you for your company, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you too, mate. It's been a pleasure, yeah.
What's your overall thoughts of this Grand Prix? Did you like it?
Yeah, it was good. Especially got very spiced up in the final 3 laps. It looked like, unfortunately, it looked like MDJ had this one in the bag. But unfortunately, got one track limit too many, which I think a lot of drivers can relate to. It's very unfortunate, but very impressive from Yoram and Burmeister. I think Burmeister ended up gaining 8 positions there. He always seems to find his way back to the podium. And Yoram did a great job. P12 to P1. Great drive.
Indeed it is then. Burmeister, for 1 minute I thought that he wasn't looking like a podium contender, because in the first stint he was just stuck in P9 and P10. Almost lost the DRS as well in the first stint, but somehow that Dutchman always finds himself on the top 3. Like I said, it's his 6th podium in a row, his 10th podium of the season, and I think he's finished on the podium every single race, barring one. Can you believe it as well? That's the consistency you need. It's not all about winning a Grand Prix, but it is. but it's all about consistency as well. It's all about how you perform in the Grand Prix, and those results matter towards the end of the season as well, because that level of consistency can ultimately find yourself winning the championship. Because let's say you do have the pace, but you don't have consistency. For those who do have the pace and sometimes struggle, but have the consistency to get up there and finish at the top all the time, even if it's not a win, they're the ones that win the championship. It's all about how you finish the whole season, not just one race. And it definitely proves why Burmeister could be on his way to winning the World Championships, because he sees his rival of Yusuf, who had a terrible race, unfortunately, after all the mistakes he's had and the contact he made as well in the chicane, has dropped back massively. Yarn will gain points, but not too many, and there's only a few races left to go this season. There is 6 races left for Division 2. Qatar is next, then Canada, Miami, Las Vegas, the Dutch GP, and Norris's home GP, and my home Grand Prix, the Silverstone Grand Prix as well. So there's 6 races left, and I can't wait to see what happens. But Nordis, once again, thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow in Division 1. You're on mute, by the way, if you're talking.
Have a good one, mate. Sorry, I didn't know. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow.
Anyways, that's it for Division 2. I'll see you all later. Good night, and see you all tomorrow for Division 1 for the Japanese Grand Prix.